Welcome to another chilling episode of Serial Killer Files by Skoob. I'm your host, Arthur Morgan, and today we're diving into the shadows of 1950s America to uncover the disturbing story of Harvey Glatman, a man whose quiet demeanor masked one of the most calculated and methodical serial killers in American history. Known by two haunting monikers, the Lonely Hearts Killer and the Glamour Girl Slayer, Glatman's crimes reveal a terrifying truth about how evil can hide behind the most ordinary facade. This episode is brought to you by Skoob, and if stories like this fascinate you, there are countless more dark, gripping cases waiting for you on the app. Check the link in the description. Picture this. It's the 1950s in America. Post-war optimism fills the air. But beneath the surface lurks a society ill-equipped to recognize or address mental illness. This was an era when those showing signs of psychological disorders were simply swept away, hidden in institutions, subjected to barbaric treatments, or completely ostracized from society. Mental health awareness was virtually non-existent, creating the perfect breeding ground for monsters like Harvey Glatman. In this environment, Glatman developed into something truly sinister. He wasn't your typical rage-fueled killer. No, Glatman was far more dangerous. He was methodical, calculating, and disturbingly calm. His victims weren't random targets of opportunity. Instead, he deliberately chose women pursuing two of humanity's most basic desires: companionship and dreams of success. What made Glatman particularly terrifying was his ability to blend into society. Sporting glasses, speaking softly, and maintaining an air of politeness, he appeared completely harmless. This unassuming exterior became his greatest weapon, allowing him to operate undetected for years while targeting society's most vulnerable members. Let me walk you through Glatman's chilling methodology. A routine so practiced it became ritualistic. His crimes weren't impulsive acts of violence. They were carefully orchestrated performances with him as both director and lead actor. Glatman operated under multiple aliases. Johnny Glenn and George Williams were his favorites. He crafted elaborate personas, complete with business cards and professional photography equipment. His hunting grounds were modeling agencies and what were called Lonely Hearts Clubs, early matchmaking services where desperate souls sought connection through personal advertisements. His target selection was ruthlessly strategic. Single women, divorcees, newcomers to California chasing dreams. Anyone lacking strong local connections who might not be immediately missed. Once he identified a victim, the performance began. Picture this scenario. A young woman, perhaps struggling financially, receives a call from a polite photographer offering $20 an hour, significant money in those days, for a simple magazine shoot. The caller explains he needs models for detective magazines, scenarios where they'd be bound and gagged. It sounds legitimate, almost mundane. The photo shoot would begin innocently enough. Glatman would take genuine photographs, building trust, making conversation, appearing professional. But then gradually, the atmosphere would shift. What started as a modeling session transformed into something far more sinister. This is where Glatman's true nature emerged. He maintained a kit, camera, film, ropes, gags, always organized, always ready. His soft-spoken demeanor never changed, even as the situation became horrific. He would bind his victims under the pretense of the shoot, then reveal his true intentions with chilling calmness. Let's honor the memory of those whose lives Glatman stole by telling their stories, not as mere statistics, but as human beings with hopes, dreams, and futures that were brutally cut short. Judy Dull was just 19 years old in October 1957. When she answered what seemed like a golden opportunity, $20 an hour to pose for detective magazine photographs. It must have felt like winning the lottery. Judy had no way of knowing that Johnny Glenn was actually Harvey Glatman, and this job would be her last. Inside Glatman's Los Angeles apartment, the facade crumbled quickly. What followed was hours of terror as Judy endured unimaginable horrors. But perhaps the cruelest element was Glatman's psychological manipulation. After the assault, he actually suggested they watch television together, creating a bizarre sense of normalcy before the final act of his twisted play. At 10:30 p.m., Glatman promised to release her. Instead, he drove over 100 miles into the desert near Indio, California. There, in the vast emptiness where no one could hear her scream, he ended Judy's young life with methodical precision. But his depravity didn't end with death. He arranged her body in grotesque poses, photographing his work like some perverted artist signing his masterpiece. 7 months later, Shirley Ann Bridgeford became his second known victim. This 24-year-old divorced mother had joined the Patty Sullivan Lonely Hearts Club, seeking companionship to ease her loneliness. She found George Williams physically unimpressive, but loneliness is a powerful motivator. What began as promises of square dancing and dinner became a repeat of Glatman's horrific ritual. There's also Dorothy Gay Howard, whose 1954 murder remained unsolved for decades. Found by hikers near Boulder, Colorado, she was known only as Boulder Jane Doe, until DNA testing in 2009 finally gave her back her name. While direct evidence linking Glatman to Dorothy's murder remains elusive, the similarities are impossible to ignore. Every predator eventually makes a mistake, and for Harvey Glatman, that mistake came in the form of Lorraine Vigil, a 28-year-old woman who refused to become another victim in his twisted collection. It was late October 1958, and Glatman was operating with the confidence of someone who had perfected his craft. Using his tried-and-true modeling photography ruse, he lured Vigil away from Hollywood onto the Santa Ana freeway. But something was different this time. Vigil's intuition screamed danger as Glatman ignored her attempts at conversation, maintaining an unnerving silence. When the vehicle pulled off the freeway onto an isolated road, Glatman's usual setup for the final act, Vigil was ready. The moment he revealed his weapon, she didn't freeze in terror like his previous victims. Instead, she fought back with extraordinary courage and determination. What followed was a life-or-death struggle that spilled dangerously close to traffic. The gun discharged during the fight. Accounts vary on whether it grazed her leg or missed entirely. But Vigil never gave up. In an incredible turn of events, she managed to wrestle the weapon away from Glatman and held him at gunpoint until police arrived. Glatman's arrest on either October 27th or 31st, 1958, records conflict on the exact date, marked the end of his reign of terror. Faced with a failed polygraph test and overwhelming evidence, he confessed with the same chilling calmness that characterized his crimes. He methodically explained his process, forcing victims to kneel, binding their feet with a 5-foot rope looped around their necks, strangling them until they stopped struggling. Perhaps most disturbing was his matter-of-fact demeanor during confession. He showed neither pride nor remorse, treating the taking of human lives as if discussing a mundane hobby. He led investigators to his collection of photographs, ghastly trophies that documented every moment of his victim's terror and his own twisted satisfaction. Charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, Glatman made no appeals for clemency while awaiting execution at San Quentin State Prison. On September 18, 1959, he met his end in the gas chamber, bringing closure to one of California's most haunting criminal cases. Harvey Glatman's case is a sober reminder. Danger often wears the most ordinary face. Not a movie monster or headline seeker, but a quiet photographer, polite, soft-spoken, almost invisible. That ordinariness is what made him so dangerous. His victims came with simple hopes, modeling dreams, a chance at connection. and those hopes became his weapon. Tonight, we remember Judy Dull, Shirley Ann Bridgeford, Dorothy Gay Howard, and Lorraine Vigil. Not for how they died, but for who they were and the lives they lived. There are details we couldn't fit here: a final letter, a witness memory, and the moment justice finally closed the case. If you want the full, uncut account, download Skoob app now to get access to the full story. Thanks for listening. Stay vigilant. Evil hides, but it doesn't last.